Hi, welcome along to AFTV Transfer, the show that tells you about all the players that have been linked with a summer transfer move to Arsenal. And it's a bit of a frustrating time at the moment. We're being told about players coming in. We're being told about players not available. It's very frustrating. Business has really slowed down since we've done that big Petr Cech deal. And it would appear that another target has fallen by the wayside. This time, William Carvalho, defensive midfielder that we were thinking, a couple of weeks ago. Lots of talk and chatter about Arsenal looking to bring him in. 23 years of age, of course, for Sporting Lisbon. Well, quite bad news today if, indeed he was a target. I mean, it was being said by his manager that they were going to hold on to him and that they weren't looking to sell him. But it definitely looks like he won't be going anywhere now because he's sustained quite a bad injury, a stress fracture to his tibia, and he's going to be out for 3 months. So that deal will definitely be off unless Arsene Wenger was to move in and buy an injured player, which I'm sure he won't do. He's had bad experiences of doing that with players like Kim Kallstrom. So that deal looks like that is definitely off, and that is 100% not going to be happening, which again sort of starts to indicate that it's looking like that defensive midfielder position may not get filled. It will be Coquelin, who we've had a great season, 6 months, brilliant, and Mikel Arteta and possibly Matthew Flamini still in there, and that's what we look like we may be going with, because the last sort of real big target that I thought that they could go for in that defensive midfielder position was Carvalho, and as I said, now that is definitely ruled out with that injury to him, where he's going to be out for 3 months. A player that we've been told now, again, mixed messages on this one. If you read some outlets, they're saying this is a done deal. This guy's coming in. There was even one paper at the start of the week, I can't remember if it's the Metro or one of those papers anyway, saying that the deal would be done within a few days, and that is the deal for Fazio Gulam. Plays for Napoli, left back, which I personally don't think we don't need a left back right now, but he's a very good player, Algerian international. We were being told that Arsenal have put in a bid for £7 million to Napoli and that he was on his way. We've also been told that Chelsea are competing as well for the signature. However, it's a real strange one, this one, because as I said, it's not just the Metro. There's been a few outlets that have been going and saying, listen, this is definitely happening. He's definitely going to be moving to Arsenal. However, the Napoli sporting director came out yesterday and said there's been no offers and he's not for sale. So what do you believe on that one? I mean, in the transfer market, you don't know what to believe. I kind of think maybe I'm more believe the Napoli guy, because I just can't see why Arsenal at this period of time need another left back, where that's a position where we've got two very good players and it's covered. Why do we need another one? So I tend to go with what the Napoli sporting director is saying. But hey, listen, a lot of times we hear players are not going anywhere by their clubs. Liverpool, for instance, with Raheem Sterling. Who did Raheem Sterling sign for yesterday? Manchester City. And by the way, is that not a lesson really for Arsenal, in that if you're going to make these really big signings, you've got to be more aggressive? Manchester City basically have said, listen, we want Raheem Sterling. They've dislodged him. Let's not have it any other way. They've put words into his ear or into the ear of his agent and said, listen, we want him. And then the agent has then gone and said to Raheem, listen, they want you. It'll be big money. It can happen. It might get a bit messy, but it can happen. And City have been very aggressive. I think they've used it through the agent in how they've managed to acquire Raheem Sterling, which would be, you look at it and say, it would be a very difficult player to acquire, but they've acquired him. And is this not a lesson to Arsenal? Our sort of way of doing transfers is in a very decent, gentlemanly way. If you're going to get the real big targets, surely you have to be a bit more aggressive than what we are. when we're trying to get some of these targets. And one of those big targets we're after is Karim Benzema. Now, are we being aggressive here? I mean, we're being told, again, by outlets, Metro being one of them. I know that, listen, the Metro is not a very reliable outlet, that's for sure. I mean, they do a lot of speculation, and I think this is a very speculative story with Benzema, where they're saying that Arsenal submitted an offer for Benzema. Now, again, I think if a Benzema deal does get done, and we know for sure that Arsene Wenger is an admirer of Benzema and would like to bring Benzema to Arsenal if he could get him for the right price. But Arsenal submitted an offer. How did the Metro know that? Sorry, I'm not buying it. I'm not buying that they know that an offer has definitely been submitted. And I mean, even in this story, it says, yeah, an offer has been submitted, but it's going to probably fall short of the valuation. I mean, I think if the Benzema deal does get done, it depends on a lot of things. It depends on, first of all, Real Madrid being willing to sell. And at the moment, there seems to be some sounds coming out of there that maybe if the right offer came in, they might be willing to sell. Might be. It's not 100%. They might be willing to sell. Now, you know, it's going to take a bit more aggression from Arsenal to get a deal like that over the line. We've been told that Wenger's put in calls to Benzema and has said to Benzema, we definitely want you. But if Benzema becomes available, there'll be other clubs hovering, like, say, Manchester United would definitely be hovering. Clubs like PSG. So, you know, we've got to get a bit more aggressive in the transfer market. But listen, Metro saying that a bid's been put in for Benzema. I'm not sure if I'm completely convinced by that. I do feel that if that does get done, as I said, that's going to be more of a sort of deal that goes in later on in the transfer window. And then we move on to the other striker target that we've been forever linked with since the start of the transfer window, which is Gonzalo Higuain. Very interesting yesterday that his brother was doing a radio interview, and his brother came out and said, listen, there's been no inquiries from any club for Gonzalo Higuain. So I don't know where all this is coming from. You know, we haven't had an offer. He said, you know, there's been no inquiries. And what was very interesting, actually, in what he said is he goes that the person who seems to be talking up all these things all the time is the president of the club. He's the one who keeps. This is what you remember. His brother, his agent is his brother, and this is what his brother is saying, that, you know, it's the agent, it's the president of the club who keeps going on about buyout clauses and this and that. And he's like, you know, if we, you know, Napoli want a challenge for the Scudetto, they need to hold on to Higuain. So that's what his brother's coming out and saying. So could it be a situation where Napoli really would like to cash in on Higuain, and that's why the president keeps talking it up? Because according to his brother, you know, they've had no inquiries, and, you know, he's quite happy at the moment, according to his brother, to stay at Napoli. Again, this is one of those ones that's going to go run and run and run right till the end of the transfer window. It's the valuation for Higuain. I think if he was a lot cheaper, that might interest Arsenal, but release clauses of 60-odd million, 40 million pound price tags and that, I just think is way too much for Higuain, who didn't do himself any favours in the final of the Copa America. But listen, again, let's wait and see. Then there's Aubameyang, who plays for Dortmund. Very interesting. Again, yesterday, the journalist and ex-footballer Jan Fjortov is very big on Twitter, really knows his German football inside out. And he tweeted yesterday, and this is, I quote this, he said, reports in Germany stating that Wenger is in love with Dortmund striker Aubameyang. However, he then went on to tweet, Dortmund sports director Zorc said he is not for sale. Now, again, this is one of those ones that I'm talking about when I say that it could happen, but we've got to be more aggressive if we wanted to make a deal like that happen. Now, Dortmund, I'm not saying Dortmund are a selling club, but if you go in with a big enough offer and you'd have to pay over the odds for a player like Aubameyang. If you went in with a big enough offer, you could possibly get a deal like this over the line. You know what I mean? And yet, again, this is what I'm saying, that, and I know these clubs have got way more money than Arsenal, but you kind of look at it and think to yourself, if it was Manchester City, they'll go in with the big, they'll go big on it. And it would be so tempting that if the club does refuse to do the deal, you're almost surprised. I mean, look at the moment with De Bruyne, who plays for Wolfsburg. Dortmund are going, Manchester City at the moment are going big to try and bring him in. Let's watch his space and see what happens. But massive price tag of over £40 million for a player that, you know, went for half of that, literally, when he went from Chelsea to Wolfsburg. Wolfsburg desperately trying to hang on to him. But City are going very aggressive and saying, listen, we want this guy. We'll put the money on the table, mate. It's all here. Arsenal don't tend to do that. They tend to be a lot of protracted negotiations to get it over the line. And as I said, we're a bit too gentlemanly in how we do these deals. If you're going to get a deal done like that, and it's true that Fjortov is saying that in Germany, people are saying that Wenger loves Aubameyang. He'd love to bring him into Arsenal. If you want him, we're going to have to be aggressive and go out there and get him. You know, shake it up. But will Arsene Wenger do that? That is what we're going to have to wait and see. All the evidence in the past would suggest that Arsenal don't really do business like that. Even if you look at our big deals that we've done, Mesut Ozil was a deal that was done. Yes, we moved in quickly and got him once we got a sniff that he might be available. Alexis Sanchez, similar sort of thing. But we've never really gone out there and said, right, we're going big, hard and aggressive after a target that, on the face of it, a lot of people will say, nah, there's no way he's moving. And that's what you see happen with clubs like Manchester United, with clubs like Manchester City, Chelsea. They're able to go out there and get players that you thought to yourself, there's no way he's leaving. You know, the president comes out and says he ain't going nowhere. The player says, I'm happy here. But they go aggressive with big wads of money, and next minute, you know, they've got the player. And that's how you get these big players. And maybe Arsenal going to have to kind of adopt that policy if they're going to want to get that big marquee signing over the line. One player that it looks like he's definitely on the way out, and we've been saying for weeks, Joel Campbell, seems he's getting a lot of offers coming in. The latest offer is from Rio Sociedad, of course, the club that's managed by David Moyes. We've been told that they're putting in £6 million bids to try and get Joel Campbell. It's really amazing what's happened to this guy. I mean, just loan after loan after loan. If you remember rightly, last year, he was one of the stars of the World Cup. Let's not forget that. One of the stars of last year's World Cup. And then he's come back and it's just not happened for him. Couldn't get into the Arsenal team. It's gone out on loan. Hasn't really happened for him out on loan at Villarreal. You know, Arsenal are going to end up selling him now. It's a real shame. But £6 million, maybe when you think about it now, they might have been better off selling him last year. Maybe they've got a lot more money for him off of the back of the hype from the World Cup. But let's see what happens with that. Let's get into some of your comments. Scarlett Yuki says, I hope Wenger goes for a double swoop of Illaramendi and Benzema for around 30 to 40 million pounds. I'd be happy. Illaramendi, of course, defensive midfielder, plays for Real Madrid. A couple of seasons ago, we were after him. He is available. They are willing to sell Illaramendi. Could he be a sort of player? He's young enough. Could he? And he's a good player as well. Could he be a player you could bring in alongside Coquelin? And as I said, it's starting to look to me that the Arteta option is going to be the backup. And I'm starting to think that, especially with Carvalho now out of the race, that will be it, that we won't go for another defensive midfielder, which I think will be a mistake, in my personal opinion on that. Zachary Joseph says, Wenger must sign Benzema. He's a proven world-class striker, and he's much better than Giroud. And he said, look at the teams who've won the league. They all have a world-class striker. That's a very good point there. Rainey there says, I think Draxler would be a good signing. He's a versatile and tall player with plenty of talent. His play against Chelsea shows that he can do well in the Premier League. Draxler, of course, who's been getting linked. That link, as I said yesterday, is a very loose link, but linked with Arsenal. Tap Me says Wenger is just telling the media what they want to hear so they can all shut up. Well, that is sort of been his tactic in the past. You know what? He doesn't really come out and say what he's going to do. When he does say, yeah, we are in for a player, you know that it's definitely really, really far down the line. Carnage 110 says, without a world-class defensive midfielder and a striker, we're finishing fourth without doubt. And a lot of people are starting to get really, really worried about this situation that we may not bring in. You know, I mean, listen, we do need to be patient. We do need to be patient on this, but you know, I can understand the frustration. Just so I have a bit of frustration as all the fans. Lost Beaverhead says we should go for Cavani. Suggestions that Cavani would be available. Again, I've said before, I'm not sure about Cavani. I'm not sure if Cavani is the force that he once was. And let's get one more in. He said, this is Tommy Pereira. He says, instead of waiting for world-class players to become available, why don't we make them become available? Put in an offer to a club that they cannot refuse. And that's kind of exactly what I was just saying. It's aggression in the transfer market, something that Arsenal don't show. Something that City showed, that Manchester United have been showing, that Chelsea have been showing over the years, that Bayern Munich show, that Barcelona show, that Real Madrid show, you know, even Atletico Madrid recently. You've got to have that bit of aggression in there where sometimes you see an immovable player, what it would appear to be an immovable player. When you put in a bid, everyone says, no chance. And then next minute, like a Luis Suarez, that is the great example of that, our bid for Suarez. And then you look at how Barcelona went about it. You know what I mean? We need to, I think, change our philosophy a bit if we really want to get those real mega signings over the line. And, you know, that's what Arsene Wenger's saying. He said, show me 2 world-class players, I'll go and get them. Well, they're out there, but you're going to have to pay a lot of money for them. Thanks for watching AFTV Transfer Daily. Today, we'll be back tomorrow around about the same time. Don't forget to leave your comments below.